Hello and welcome back to Deconstructed. I'm your host Sam Animu Mackenzie, and with me, as always, the beautiful Harry Nero Richards. And we're back from Paris now. We're no longer in the same room, so we'll start. Harry, how's your time in Paris, mate?
Yeah, it was lovely. Lovely time in Paris.
Yeah.
One in-person podcast, many drinks, a lot of late nights, like a lot of interviews. You know, we did a lot of work. I've not seen the sun, so it's nice
Not
to come
even
back
seeing each other.
barely. And then we come back. First thing I do, shut the curtains. So I still haven't seen the sun.
Shut the curtains and record another podcast, but here we are.
And I will still get moaned at for lighting from the editors later. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I look grey as ever. So let's get into it. Let's talk about a major finalist. GamerLegion. Probably not the team that you or I expected to be in the final.
No one.
Or anyone. Maybe. Probably
even the tier 2 believers.
Themselves.
Yes,
even
the tier 2 believers. Well, we heard about Nine. We heard about Monty. No one said GamerLegion.
Even one. Freddie, Grimmy Rannar, whatever his last Pritchard. That's it. That was poor from me. Sorry, Freddie. Love you, mate.
Because he's got 14 names.
He does have 14 names, and one of them is probably Lord. Fucking tennis pool. Tennis pool, tennis court, and a swimming pool,
and a horse.
Unreal. Anyway, GamerLegion. Now, for me, this was a big win because I've been pushing a certain member of GamerLegion for a year now. I quite like the fella, and we'll talk about him more in a bit. But yeah, 0-2 down in the challenges stage. I think quite a lot of people would have then expected them to just go 0-3. Like I don't know if you spoke to any of them afterwards. I spoke to Acor, and I've even speaking to Alexia B and Hooksy after Nip and G2 both got eliminated. Acor is still probably the most just purely depressed interview I did the entire event.
That's just what he's like, though.
No, he's quite cheery afterwards. But yeah, so GamerLegion. I mean, what's your? It
wasn't even good teams they lost to as well. Like they were 0-2 challenger stage, and it was, what was it, like Complexity then Mongols?
Yes,
I'll get it up. Yeah, it was Complexity then Mongols. So they're 0-2. They've lost to like 2 terrible teams, like bottom 6 teams of the event, and then they make the final. Like, it's just, there's no one who could have predicted this, and then there's this. Like, this is, I think this is more them making the final from where they were is more crazy than Outsiders or Gambit winning the whole thing. Honestly,
I'd agree. Because especially like if you look at Outsiders, they won Challenger. Oh, it was a Challenger.
Or something, yeah. I think it was Rotterdam.
They won Rotterdam before. I mean, if you look at Cloud9, they'd won a couple tournaments before. I'm pretty sure Gambit had as well.
Gambit won a few DreamHack Opens, yeah. Well, like, Cloud9 and Outsiders were still like top 5, top 10 teams. GamerLegion, no.
Yeah, but you could see all of these teams were on a climb. GamerLegion.
The only thing close is Avangar. Avangar Berlin 19 is the only thing close.
Yeah. No, that's true. But so I want to know just your stance on GamerLegion, because to me, they don't look like a team that would ever be taken on a Vitality. Well, I know they took on a Heroic, but thanks, Bottlers. But on a consistent basis, to me, they don't look like a team that could ever take on a Vitality, but they do look like a team that can consistently, go against a Fnatic, go against an OG, a Mouse, a team that if we didn't have franchising in Counter-Strike, they probably would now stick around the top 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's your initial thoughts on them?
I think they're actually, despite making the final, it's still hard to know, because a lot of their games were against those tier 2 teams. Like, the Heroic win is the only win against like a strong partner team. Like, they beat Fnatic, they beat Mouse and OG in challenges. Like, you can't question their run because of all the it's not their fault the favorites lost. It's one of those things you can't question it, but also you've got to look at it and be like, this isn't sustainable, is it? Like, you look at the team, the way it's structured, they've got Im, who we'll get to later, just obviously amazing. Akor's like mid-tier AWPer, siuhy amazing IGL, and then Isaac and Keels. Like, firepower wise, it's fairly top heavy. Like, siuhy's already like the third best player. Like, not a lot of the best teams have IGLs as their third best players already. They've got 2 like ultra supportive pieces when most teams only have 1. Like, it's not like it's a miracle run in so many ways, and it's like, I think we'll remember it as the rise of Im and the rise of siuhy, and a lot of people in 10 years' time won't be able to remember the other 3 players on this team. Like, in the same way we remember Jame and Buster, but who else was on Avenger?
Come on, bro. Come on. Akor's the greatest AWPer in Denmark. But I can. But you've posed this to me now. I can do it.
Who else is on Avenger? Can't see.
Buster.
I don't know.
Buster, Kick-It, Jame.
Yeah, Buster, Kick-It, I meant.
Buster,
of course,
Jame, Adren, and it wouldn't be Demasic.
Is it Sanji already? God, we're exposing ourselves now.
We are. Let's move on quickly. Let's move on. Although I am kind of intrigued if you're doing a little Google.
I'm looking. It's Sanji, yeah. Sanji, Kick-It, Jame, Adren, Buster. Yeah.
Wow.
What is just VP without the firepower? It's insane.
What a team. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so if you look at GamerLegion at Rio, they were a very like new team. Right? I think they'd just signed siuhy, and they were 2-0 if I remember correctly, and then they just lost best of threes. They weren't good at best of threes. This event, they're quite good at best of threes, and I think that's maybe a positive sign, but it's also like you've got to get to points where you play best of threes for that to really come through. And if you're maybe not as good at best of ones, then normally those best of threes have no room for error.
Yeah. Do you know what as well I found really impressive, if like related to best of threes, is like it shows siuhy's depth. Like, it shows the depth, because to win a best of threes, you need to be good on like lots of maps. You can't just be good at Mirage and Inferno. You just win a best of 1. Like they were picking overpass, starting T site, and just still winning. Like a lot of teams will avoid picking overpass, even if it's one of their best maps, because they're scared of the T side. Like, and it did go wrong for them in the final because Vitality just destroyed them. But every other time, like, they were looking really good on overpass, and they were picking it. Like Heroic even banned it against it. Like, Heroic was scared of it, and Heroic are good at overpass.
I want to talk about that overpass map very quickly. I think
the final.
Yeah. I think if that had been the second map of the series, I think they win overpass. I don't think that GamerLegion that we saw on overpass in the final is the GamerLegion we saw for the rest of the event. I think that's when the moment became too much for them. Their trading was fucking awful.
I'm just wasn't there as well.
Yeah, I'm just wasn't there, and like, I mean, we'll talk about him more in a bit, but he did really carry them to the final. Him and siuhy's calls were the only reasons they got there. But yeah, I think it's a real shame that was the first map and not the second, because like on Nuke, like, GamerLegion shouldn't push Vitality on Nuke. Like,
no,
they shouldn't.
But that's where it's the pressure imbalance thing, right? Like, you're 0-1 down. Vitality. I don't think Vitality were at their best in the final, honestly. I don't think Vitality were at their best for most of the event, to be honest. I think Overpass, Spinks took over, and they just like Spinks. I think we can't underestimate how good Spinks was at just shutting down a T side that worked so well against every other team. Like, that was just nuts on Overpass. And then on Nuke, it was so scrappy. Like, both maps were so scrappy. It was like, you could feel the wave of expectation on Vitality on Nuke, I think. Whereas GamerLegion were properly playing with nothing to lose. Like, you can't like remove maps from their context, I don't think. I think the final we got is probably the final we would have got whatever order. I think there would have been blown up map 1 and then edge back in map 2 as Vitality feel a bit of the pressure.
Maybe, but I don't know. It's very hard to say, but I do think genuinely, if it had have gone to Inferno, we would have a different mage champion.
Insane.
Like, I think it actually would have been a good Inferno game, a rarity, but the one against Heroic was pretty fun.
Okay, just we'll pause there. Why? You have to explain why. Why do you have so much faith in a team that has one amazing star player, one amazing IGL?
Oh,
like,
no.
Like,
No.
Why? Why would they have won that final?
It's not that I have that much faith in them. I just think at that point, the pressure of winning that third map would have been too much for Vitality. And I think GamerLegion at that point...
I think Magus can do... Magus would have just dropped 30. That's what always happens when the pressure's on.
Maybe Magus can do pretty, but I think GamerLegion would have just gone outside and just be like, all right, let's just go and do some stupid shit. And I think it would have been... I think it's probably half of what happened with Heroic, that they were just like, whatever, and we'll just go and play a video game. I think for them at that point, it would have been a case of like, we've got a map. Like it wouldn't be like, we've got a map. We can win this now. It would just be like, fuck, whatever happens. Like, because I think that's all you can do in GamerLegion's position. And I think from seeing how siuhy is for the past 2 weeks, I'm just kind of sure that's how he would talk to them all before it. Like, it is just a case of whatever happens. You just go out there, the all-time shit quote of play our game, and
shout out Banks.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think it would be different, but that's all speculation. So, I think the first thing we should talk about, and we should talk about them very quickly because they're not the stars of the show, is INSITE and Chaos. If what I want to ask is, if this team, was now suddenly a partner team, would they sandbag it?
I think if this is a partner team, stays together for like a year, I mean, I think they're not worse than... They're not like terrible compared to tier 1 support players. They're not like terrible players. But having both of them puts a lot of weight on siuhy to be able to frag and call.
Okay.
I don't think either of them are terrible players. Like Chaos is the worst of the two for sure. Like he's like, but then he's got a tougher role. He's like, so like Isaac's the passive supportive guy, like small side anchor. Chaos has Mirage A, like CT side, anti side, like he lurks and then has to entry and executes. Like he's got that horrible role where you don't see anyone, and then you go in an entry path and die and just hope you get traded. Like he's got that role, and he's the hype man as well. Like honestly, the loudest fucking guy at Challenges and Legends. Like
loud.
I got so like actually bored of filming GamerLegion because he would do the same thing. Like whether they won against an eco to go like 13-5 up, or if they're just 16-14, like the best team in the world. Like he would actually scream at the same volume. Like if I was his teammate, it would piss me off. I'd come just for that, honestly.
I'm gonna start doing it then. I will start doing it. It's gonna be really fun.
I'm gonna have a deafen key. Like I'm gonna have a deafen key just for that. And I could tell because like he sits next to Acor. Acor's there like nice guys, and then Chaos is just screaming.
But okay,
it's awful.
So the next question then.
But so yeah, no, I don't think either of them. Okay, they're fine on this team. No one in tier 1 is looking at either of them thinking, "Oh, that guy's really fucking good. We should probably get him." Maybe Isaac for a dip team. Maybe
this is what I wanted to ask. This is what I wanted to ask: is do you think they have any place on better teams? Because as we were saying before we started, like Chaos can speak a few languages. Like
he can.
He could be.
He's half Ukrainian, so
on teams, like
is he better than Nipple?
Yes, Nipple is...
Shock me now, then.
He's... And I say this with absolute confidence, in the top 5 worst players I've ever seen in Tier 1. Nipple is fucking awful.
Oh...
He's dog shit.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, honestly, and that's a horrible place to be.
Nipple
is
fucking awful. No, it's a horrible place
Right.
to be. I'm not taking away from that, but Nifl's fucking awful.
But yeah.
But what
Well,
about
I don't
Isaac?
think he's going to be around for ages. Isaac, I don't know. I think if there was still like majority Swedish teams, he'd be like a good asset to them. But in the international scene, like most star players now are like hard lurkers, right? Like think of all the passive stars we've got at top of tier 1. Like if you're a tier 1 team, like the formula seems to be a star lurker and a star AWPer, and like a decent pack, but like you shift your star power to lurker. So he is like the supportive lurker, like the Zipix type lurker. I don't know if he's going to improve that many teams above GamerLegion.
So what you're
I just
saying
don't
is,
see it. I
what
think
you're
they're
saying is,
fine for this team. They work well in Shui's system. That if this team gets like split and scrapped for parts, Isaac and Chaos are going to be the ones left over, I think.
so like with Isaac, is what you're saying is that the kind of meta has just evolved past it.
Not past him, because like we got to a major final, like clearly, like you can still build a team with this structure with I'm as like the aggressive star. I just think it's provably less consistent to have your star player as an entry player, or like an aggressive player, opener, whatever. Not really an entry. Like it's a difference. Like it's I was talking to Maui about this actually. We were talking about Nico, and like would Nico like maybe not have won a major by now, but would he have been more consistent in the big games? Because we all know he's just group stage warrior, like literally insane in group stages. But if Nico was still a lurker like he used to be, because Nico took this decision that I'm going to be more aggressive, I'm going to win rounds, like be impactful all the time. And you know, honestly, like he's got the skill set to do either. If he lurked still, like obviously it will never happen in this G2 team because Hunter and JKS are so good at it. But if Nico lurked, he'd be a more consistent star, I think. And I think IAM probably will end up being more passive. Like because he is the Nico regen. I think.
Yeah. No, I
So
don't.
that's the thing with Isaac. I just don't think he's going to be able to push beyond the level he's at now, which is like a good support player for a top 20 team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think Chaos, because of his language skills, probably has a place somewhere.
Kills a lot less people than Isaac. I'll say that.
He does kill a lot less.
Fewer people.
Fewer people. Poor from us. But yeah, if you have a majority Swedish team, sure, there's a place for him. Other than that, not sure there is. But so let's very, very quickly move on to Acor.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't care too much for Acor, but I think
I'm not a believer.
I think he just deserves some props for how he played at this
Yes.
event. I think he
Yes.
played very well at this event. I think more than any AWPers, or most AWPers, he really does pass the eye test. I do quite enjoy watching Acor play. But
His
again,
movement's so clean.
kind of like Isaac, it's just it really does feel like a shame because it feels like, you know, Mouse just that was his shot and he didn't take that shot, and where else is he going to get? Like, you know, let's say for instance that OG, they're playing with Regali in Dallas. Let's say they quite like playing with Regali. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time they've liked playing with a standing AWPer more. Let's say then Regali, like maybe he plays well in Dallas. After that, he's awful. Maybe an OG goes for him. Maybe, you know, Torsey stays dog shit for Mouse. Maybe Mouse try him again. Other than that, like Fnatic, because Nika does is bad. Like I don't. It's just all of it is like there's not an obvious one for Acor, and I think it's a shame because I think realistically he probably is better than a couple of names that I mentioned. It's just those names are 3-4 years younger.
Yeah, and it's not just age, right? Like you're just like with the way buyouts are now, like contracts, like it's expensive to change players. Like you've got to see like quite a big upgrade to change players. And I think like Acor did an interview with Dust2DK, and like this is
Shout
when
out.
they made the Johan Sand. So when they made the final, he was like, "Oh, so is this game and Legion team going to stick together?" And Acor was like, "I'm not sure. I think if the young guys get offers from Tier 1, they'll find it hard to say no." Which is like, of course. And then the interesting thing was when he also said, "Yeah, I think I'm too old to get the same offers as them."
Which feels
And I
like a
think
shame.
that just sort of sums it up. It does feel like a shame, but it's also, I think we've seen his ceiling, and I think if you're a Tier 1 team, you're trying to, like you saw the thought process with Nip picking up Hedrick. Like they want to gamble on people who can explode into superstars. People don't want good AWPers. You want great AWPers.
I'm just going
And
to say
everyone
this.
is searching for these great AWPers, and Acor is a good AWPer.
I'm just going to say this now, so it's on the record somewhere. Hedrick will be a top 5 AWPer in CS2. Anyway, carrying on with Acor.
Maybe a top 5 rifler.
Nah, I think
Still
he's
not
got...
convinced he's an AWPer.
I'm not either, but there's a part of me that's like, nah, he's got it.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where it comes from. But anyway, yeah,
Mhm.
with Acor, it just does feel like a shame because
Yeah, it's just sad.
I just feel like Acor actually he is better than Torzi and he is better than the Ikadars, but when they're
Hang on,
that
though.
much younger, well, I like it. You can't do anything with him.
But the thing is, the one thing, like we've already entered this discussion with the assumption that this team won't stick together.
But he won't.
Which I think
You and I both know.
it shouldn't. It shouldn't just because the pieces are so good. But I think for Acor, that is the best way he stays relevant is if somehow, like some way, like a Tier 1 org just makes a silly decision and buys the whole 5 players instead of just the siuhy and Acor.
But it's the whole
Of
5
siuhy and
players, and then within a year, kicks Isaac and Chaos.
Yes, that's the dream
And we're
for
cooking on
Acor
gas.
is
And we're cooking on gas.
just somehow staying with siuhy and I. That's what Acor needs. That's the only way out. But yeah, as we were saying, I think siuhy and I'm too good. Where are you going?
I might have just cooked up something in my head.
Oh no! What?
Hear me out. So, as we saw with Rops, Frozen's too good for Mouse. And Torzi's bad, as is Dexter.
Yes.
There's 3
Still
spots.
free?
3 spots, 3 players. Tell me it's not an upgrade if they lose Frozen. For whatever reason they would.
I think it works better if they lose Exertion instead of Frozen. If they keep Frozen, sell Exertion, because I think Exertion, like, for me, is just Rain's air. Like, he just feels like Rain's air.
I agree.
Like, Rain's got, but I don't think Rain's leaving anytime soon. Like, he literally did an interview with us saying, like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, people need to stop talking about me retiring. So I'm going to try not to talk about Rain being cut as an option. I think
Should be.
for Mouse, yeah, like we can get into Mouse properly now as well, but I think I'm would if he was going to take Frozen spot, it'd be really cool for me. It would prove my thing of what I said earlier about these star entries. Low-key should just, if you're as good as I am on an eye test, you should just become a lurker. Like it's the easiest way to put up crazy numbers for a reason, and I think he's clearly good enough to do it. Like this tournament, he's putting up insane numbers, but in the entry role, it's going to be hard to do that in playoffs as well as he did. I think even if he's the next Nico, which honestly I could get on board with, that he's just the next Nico and he's just this good. But even Nico struggles with his playstyle in big games. Even Nico. So I think the option is, for me, actually, the more I think about it, the more I like the idea of I'm being a Frozen replacement and not a Exertion replacement. But he would have to change a lot of his roles, and I think he'd experience what Spinks experienced in Vitality, where like he was a little bit more aggressive, and then it's like he was still kind of a lurker, so it was even easier for Spinks than it would be for Im. But eventually Spinks got there, and we've seen what happens when Spinks gets there.
I mean, look at Spinks now. Like Spinks looks
amazing
like
winner.
that top 10, top 5 rifler again. Like he's
more than top 5
unreal.
rifler.
Fucking unreal, mate. Like
There's not been a better rifler in the last few months than Spinks.
Yeah, he was.
I think he's jumped above Axel in my head.
Finally, that bloke is shit. But anyway, we're not getting into him again.
You can
Next
wait
week for that one. But yeah, I mean, like with I'm like, I don't know where this fucker came from. The bloke's fucking sick. Like the way
Yeah.
he makes angles, like, oh, he's
It's just
very
multi kills, man. He just gets
he's
2 kills
good.
every single time, and it just doesn't look right. It just look like these pros are so good at trading. Like I've never seen someone disrupt heroics trading like I'm did, ever.
Well, Isaac, round 30,
Okay.
Inferno.
Oh,
What a
they were
moment
low.
that was.
Easiest
What
1v2
a
of his life.
fucking moment that was.
Just at round 30 in a major. That's all it
Shout
was.
out to Cadian for doing something hilarious 20 seconds before.
Careful, there's gonna be a Reddit thread about you if you comment on that one.
Oh shit. Well,
Oops. Protagonist.
everyone knows I love Cadian. Everyone knows.
Yes.
Anyway. Yeah, I think so what
Real deal.
I know what I think, but I want to ask you, and then I'll just agree or disagree. How good is he going to be for the next 3 years? What level are we going to see him at?
Okay, well, I'm gonna do a bit of a politician thing, skirt around it at first, but I think the idea that he's come out of nowhere is one the GamerLegion analyst Munster. He's been pushing back on that idea like a lot. I think it's because people don't really watch GamerLegion. What we remember is the RMR when Aker was their best player, and the major when I'm was pretty quiet, like Rio major. I mean, so everyone that thinks he's come out of nowhere, but he's been their star for the whole time, online at least. Like he's always been their best player. He's always had the same roles, the same star roles. So I think maybe it's a more gradual increase than people think it is, but the increase it's got to this peak, he's not going to be a 1.25 player for like just from now until the end of time. I think there's going to be dips as people put more and more effort into how he plays, but I think he's got the mechanics to survive people anti-stratting him. I think he's got the mechanics to do a very, very good job as the best rifler on a top tier 1 team. I genuinely think he could be the best rifler on a tier 1 team, and they wouldn't like need someone else. I do think he's going to be that good. Yes.
So, with that, will he be a consistent top 20 player?
I think if he makes good career decisions, he's definitely got the ability to do that. Yeah.
Okay, then I agree. Now, what would be those good career decisions?
Hard to see. It's hard to see. The one you'd look at because it's like I said, he could go keep his roles, stay as like the start opener. He could keep that. That'd be fine. And then you've got Dupree. Maybe like he didn't commit to anything when people asked him what was next to him. Like now he's completed the game. Got a kid.
So with Dupree, it sounds like, he wants Copenhagen, and then because I asked him about it, and from the sounds of it, in his mind, there's no way he goes before Copenhagen, but that could very much be his last tournament, because he said like, I said to him like, oh, Zips recently dropped down to like the Astralis Academy roster, whatever the fuck that's called again.
Talent.
It is just talent, isn't it? I was like, is that something you'd ever consider doing? Would you ever think about being an IGL, like going and helping the Danish scene? He was like, no, I've never really seen that for myself. Like, I'll retire on top. And while he doesn't get to decide what's on top for him, he could suddenly turn.
It's just a long time, right? It's a long time. The Copenhagen Major's another year. It's another year. It's a year for him to like Dupree. All the evidence since COVID has been that he's fairly washed up. And then at Rio and at the major, at Paris major, he's just, I think he got a really sudden burst of motivation. Like, I'm going to win 5 majors. I'm going to be like, by rings, like the greatest. Like he really, really wanted that. He's got a kid. There's no majors. If Copenhagen was in November, sure. I don't think Dupree will live for another 12 months in Vitality. I don't think his peak is sustainable. From Paris.
I thought you were going to a different. I just thought he was going to.
What you thought I was going to? No, Jesus.
Bloody hell!
But yeah, so you've got Dupree. I think Dupree at some point, but I don't think that's going to happen this summer. Obviously, like if I wants to move, like right now, Vitality is obviously not an option. Rain's not an option, as we just said. Like, G2, no, I wouldn't disrupt the 4 fraggers. So then you're already down to, like, Liquid. Like, if you're talking about the tier 1, like, partner teams, you're talking about a Liquid, and then below that, you're talking about, like, NIP, Fnatic, like, OG, like, all of these kind of dogshit international teams. So it's actually not that easy to see where IM will go. He's good enough to disrupt a lot of these teams, but I'm not too sure he's going to be able to get in the like top teams instantly. So that's where the Mouse idea maybe comes back. And maybe you keep what's working. And I think for IM, it would be really good for him to like latch himself to siuhy. If they can be what Carrigan and Nico should have been, just like the duo that should have won all the tournaments just because they had the best rifle and the best IGL, I think siuhy and IM should be the next generation's version of that. I think they should try and stick together. It's just hard to see like teams doing 2 changes. It's kind of rough. Like Liquid, if Yakinda leaves, because Yakinda and Nitro, if they both leave at the same time, maybe. But I don't. Yakinda's on such good contracts, he's probably not going to do that. Maybe it's Elite. If it's Nitro and Elite, they're not going to. They need the American core, because otherwise, what's the point of the last like 5 years be? So Liquid probably can't stay together there. Ents probably can't stay together there unless Snappy and Madden both leave or something. Like, so where are you looking? Where are you looking for this? And you just do come back to Mouse. You come back to siuhy's return to Mouse.
Well, no, there's one other, but it does involve it does involve still being latched onto siuhy, because
OG.
Yeah, because I don't want to see him play under fucking Nexa or fucking Nico.
No,
But,
obviously not. I don't think they do that.
like OG is an org that, by their existence, with what they are in other esports, you know, Dota, like, they're a team that promise a lot. And I'm not saying that siuhy and IM are the players that instantly they're going to give them what they promise. You know, they could still be a year and a half away from winning tournaments. Yeah. But fucking OG getting like Flames, you and I really rate Flames, right?
Fiku, he's like Chaos on steroids, man. He's
Fiku
so good.
is fine. Like, there isn't an issue with Fiku. Like,
this team's Isaac.
Like, Regali or Dexter, whichever one, they're both fucking good players. Like, if you put in a real IGL and then you send Neofrag to whatever shithole he came back from, like, fucking hell. What was it? Yes. Sinners. That's not a real team. Yeah, it's not a real team.
Yeah. Nico and Neofrag in the bin. Well, Nico's already in the bin. Flame's already like leaked that he's in the bin. They just got eliminated. First thing he tweeted was thanks for being a good teammate. At Nico, amazing. So yeah, Nico and Neofrag, turbo fucks and get them out. And siuhy and I'm in. OG would love that. OG would fucking love that. They'd bite your hand off for that.
Behind.
But it's the thing of if I was IM's agent, I might tell him to wait 6 months. I might tell him, okay, you made the major final, stick with this team for a little bit, and one of the top teams is going to collapse and cut a star entry player. Or you're going to cast Star Lurker and be like, you know what, let's go get that guy who was the best player of the motherfucking major. But honestly, if I'm OG, I'd throw the bank at those two. I think siuhy and IM is like a duo that, and you're right, I think OG are the only team where it actually makes sense for both parties to stay as a duo. Like right now. I think Mouse is a bit iffy because Xertion's so good. Like you'd need to lose Frozen or Exertion for Mouse to make sense as a package deal. So it's OG. They? It's OG, isn't it?
Yeah.
OG are the one, I think.
Unless Fnatic were to undergo major changes and give up on Mezzi IGL, but even then, like, boring, really boring.
If I was their agent, I wouldn't be saying to go to that shithole.
Oh, I certainly would not.
I would never join a team with Nikados on it if I was an IGL. That's just no, thank you. So yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I think OG kind of hot. I don't know how many languages IM speaks. Do Romanians speak anything other than English and Romanian? I don't know. Kind of dumb.
Fuck no.
Assuming they speak Romanian. So yeah, OG
would be really fun.
It's either OG or FaZe, right? It's either FaZe because siuhy and IM are Carrigan and Rain. Fine. Twist can become a support. But this is the thing with Shuey is that it's like we were talking earlier about Isaac and Chaos being supportive. Shuey's not a supportive IGL. Like, he just isn't. And in OG, he wouldn't be a supportive IGL either. If he joined FaZe, he'd have to be a supportive IGL. So I think the best thing for them to do right now, like, everyone talks about FaZe, like, Shuey's destined to be, he's destined to be Carrigan's heir or whatever the fuck. Like, and yeah, I can see that, but for the next 12 months, I think he should join a team like OG or Mouse where he keeps the star roles. Well, even Mouse, he'd probably have a hard time getting star roles, but you know what I mean. I think he needs, like, he plays Con Mirage, things like this. Like, he's like, I've never seen a team more structured than GamerLegion in terms of their positions. Like, it's so consistent across all of the maps. Like, Shuey and I are in the pack, and they have the rotator positions. They are like, every single map is the same. It's literally like building a puck team. Like, you just, like, other teams, they will like, it makes it kind of difficult to call out specific roles. GamerLegion, no, it's so easy to call their roles because they play the same, like, parallel positions on every map. So yeah, you've sold me on OG, because Flames is similar to Chaos in that he's not in the pack, but he's like a pretty hard entry and really good at it. He's just a better version of Chaos. Fiku and Isaac, fairly similar, honestly. Fairly similar, just like in terms of just a decent support player for a top 20 team. He's fine. He can be the worst player on the team. It's fine. And then Orpa, I think you probably want to keep Dexter. I know there's rumors of him leaving, especially, like, it's not just like the Dallas thing is a visa thing. Like, it is a visa thing, but you sense there's something going on. You sense there's something where Dexter might leave, and then if he does leave, I'm fine with Regali. I'd also be fine with Akel, honestly. I'd be fine with them just being GamerLegion, but with Flames and Fiku instead of Isaac and Chaos.
Well,
I could get on board with that for the next 12 months until tier 1 orgs have room for Shuey and I'm together, because I really want them to stay together.
So what I wanna like say in terms of everything you just said is, like, yeah, really, like, I want to see fucking Shuey on Mouse. I want to see Shuey be Torzy's in-game leader, because I want to believe that Torzy isn't dog shit. I think every time I watch him, I'm like, no, it doesn't even matter if you if you give him cheats, he's still going to be bad. Like, yeah, the more I think about it, like, the more that we have these conversations, that little mouse stream I cooked up where Torzy's fucked off, like, I'd prefer that, and one of Xertion or Frozen leaves and I'm just fills the gap. I'd prefer that. And fucking OG with those two together, God, it could be so good. It really could be so good. But what I want to, like, I was going to ask it, but no, I'm just going to make a statement instead. I think we all now look at Shuey as the next great in-game leader. Everyone's looking at him like he's the future. As you said, he's the Carrigan replacement. He's this, he's that. Oh, fucking G2 should have gone for him, not Hooksy. Whatever, right?
You said that at the time.
Oh yeah, but that's just because I've outrageously pushed him for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think Shuey could play on those teams, but I don't think he can play on those teams yet. I think the best thing for Shuey now would be to leave GamerLegion, get properly into the tier 1 ecosystem, go to an OG, go to a Mouse, and discover that, yeah, maybe against these top teams consistently, he can't do the shit he's always done. He can't have all these star roles. He can't be that player. And then, in order to get the greatness that he knows he can, that he fucking probably thinks he deserves, like with the career trajectory he's already had, learn to cook himself. Like, not go to a team where, like, he has to be cooked, but do it fucking willingly in a year's time, or in 2 years' time. He goes there. Maybe he's on OG for Copenhagen. Maybe he's on Mouse for Copenhagen. Maybe he gets fucking quarters or semis again. It's like, okay, you've done this. Maybe he's still there at the fucking second major of next year. And at that point, Carrigan's gone, maybe Rain's gone, maybe Hooksy's gone, maybe G2 looks entirely different. One of these teams, one of these fucking elite teams, these orgs will always push to get an elite team. They turn around and they're like, you know what? Shuey's that guy. And at that point, Shuey in his head knows that it doesn't matter what fucking roles he plays because he is that guy as well. Which I think is something that someone like Alexi B probably never learnt to do. So, like, there is a lot of IGLs who demand these spots who aren't good enough. I mean, like, look at what Glaive was to Astralis, right? If he could learn to become the absolute worst player on the team, he'd probably have a lot longer lifespan in that team than he's actually going to have. And I hope Shuey learns to do that.
Yeah, I think, I completely agree with all of that. I think we've seen Glaive struggle since he moved away from the star roles he had. Well, not, maybe he wasn't like the star, but like he was in rotated positions and he always knew he had an idea what's going on the map. He had an idea of the opposition's rotations. But you can see why it's so valuable for an IGL to have that information. And it's not easy to switch it off. Like, Apex has done it very well to make room for Spinks. He's adapted very, very well. Probably deserves a lot more respect than even he's getting right now. Alexi B has tried to do it in G2 and NIP, and I'm higher on Alexi B than a lot of people, but yeah, he's not fulfilled his potential. Like, he was the Shuey of, like, earlier, like a few years ago. Like, it's never guaranteed that the chosen one or whatever is just going to be the next big thing. But with Shuey, it seems I've got a better feeling about Shuey than I did about Alexi B in 2019. I think I can see it because he's already done it in international teams. Like, he's done it in academy teams. Like, he's already quite experienced, if, like, really. Like, he's done it with different personalities, different cultures, different nationalities. Like, everything about him screams next big thing. And I just need him to stay with IM because that duo is nuts. Like, that is tier 1 duo already. And they could turn OG from, like, an outsider into a tier 1 proper team. Like, I genuinely believe that I could.
No, I completely agree. And I think even with Dexter, even with Regali, even with fucking Acor, man, like, Acor is good enough for tier 1. I'm just going to say it. He fucking is. Like, you can't be
He's
a
solid
player who looks that good and not... Like, maybe he wouldn't be the star, but, like, does he need to be? Like, you know, we look at a heroic, man, like, have a fucking star AWPer. I think this thing of, like, oh, you need a star AWPer to be a top whatever team. Liquid were getting fucking top 4s consistently with OC. And, like,
Yeah.
I really think OC's getting there. I think Paris is actually going to be another leap for OC. But, man, fucking, like, Shuey and I'm, as a duo, if they stick together, they could go very high. The problem is just finding the room for both of them. And yeah, I think OG is that, because I think if Shuey gets an offer from somewhere where he has to cook himself, it's too early. If he gets an offer from Mouse, maybe the prospect of going back to that or going back to the people he came up with,
it's romantic, right?
Maybe that's too much as well. But if it's also like, oh yeah, but Frozen's fucking off to fucking Liquid, because I don't know who else would fucking buy him. Like, maybe FaZe and put him back in, like, put him in like Reigns roles, because they might finally cut him. Which I'm not saying they should do, but like, yeah, I think Mouse could be too much for Shuey to say no to. In which case, I think IM will get hindered for a while, which would be a shame. If they stick together, they go to OG, this ain't going to be a flash in the pan. This is going to be like... And I think that's what this major should be. You have 4 tier 2 teams in the playoffs. And yes, one of those teams had Sticko and Jacob, who we all know very well for years or whatever. And both of them realistically should be on fucking better teams. I think they both proved themselves again this event. They're really good. I think Nork really proved himself this event. I think he's really good. Kixan, also great. JL, he's got a career ahead of him.
Yeah, not as good in Legend stage, in the GamerLegion stage. Not quite as good, but yeah, he's got... I think he's the bracket below IM, obviously, but should be one of the best players of CS2.
But you look at Monty and there's Boros. You look at ITB and the Cypher, and I think for his role, Volt could also be something in the future.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at this major, the takeaway should be is it wasn't just the last CS:GO major. It was the major that passed the torch to CS2, and what that means is that there's a lot of players that came up at this major, and in however many years' time, when we're fucking begging about Source 3 or whatever the fuck it will be at that point that we're all talking about for 7 years, we'll look back at this major and we'll be like, yeah, this is when they all came through, and I hope that they all get to have fucking good careers.
Yes. Amen.
But so, I think with that, there's nothing left that I want to say other than siuhy is the greatest in-game leader in the world, IM is the greatest player in the world, and Akor's the greatest Danish author of all time. Maybe not the last part, but
you bottled it. Don't bottle it.
No, I can't do it to Device, bro. You know I can't.
Yeah. I'd have been upset.
I don't know if you've got anything left to say.
No, I think we. Honestly, I think that's the blueprint. I think we've summed it up pretty well. I think that is exactly. If we were their agent, that's what I'd tell them to do.
Yeah. So with that, I've been Sam Animo Mackenzie. This guy's been that prick who was in Paris. And
kind of fine. It was kind of fine.
It was kind of fine. But yeah, it's been deconstructed on GamerLegion. And hope you enjoyed. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Neither of us really give a fuck because we're just doing this for fun. See you later.
Amazing. Goodbye.